I think a lot of artists are just introverts in general. And then you get the actors that are like, we'll just run a room, like own a room.
Yeah.
Extroverted, like the Tom Cruises of the world. But they're few and far between. Like most of the people I know are very like, I just kind of sit in the corner.
Yeah, okay. Nice. All right, we'll kind of roll into it. So thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, yeah.
Pretty excited to have you here and to chat. We met on the Snatches film set. I was an extra. I think I did 3 or 4 different extra roles.
I was going to say, there's one I know you from in the hospital where you walk past the door, and I've watched that take so many times that I'm like, that's me. Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah.
But it was a cool set, and I think what was really awesome was when I walked in there was like all these people from Canberra there. And I was like, oh, cool. Canberra's like on the map, being celebrated and showing off the amazing talent as well.
Yeah, definitely.
In Canberra. But I'll hand it to you if you want to give us a spiel about who you are, just for the audience.
Yeah, sure. So Craig Alexander, I'm an actor, writer, film and theatre maker. Canberra-based, have been here about a little over a decade now. Before that was sort of all over the shop, through the country. Melbourne, I was running a theatre in Coffs Harbour for a while. We ran a theatre company in the Riverina for a while. So kind of done everything, and then kids, and so I have 4 children.
Okay, cool.
And when we moved here, we were about to have number 3, and we realised my wife's family's from here, so we realised that we desperately needed family around, especially if we wanted to be artists, which is kind of what the main reason, the whole thing like we are about. Both of us, my wife's a theatre director and writer as well, and our lives are structured like that. But to do that, you kind of need the village to support you. So we came here.
Nice. I think recently having our first child of our own, like the village definitely helps.
Oh my God, yes. How old's yours?
15 months.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so up and walking.
Yeah, and it gets harder.
It does.
Yeah. It's actually just periods of harder.
Yeah.
Like the hardness changes every couple of years.
And you're like, you can't, when he was crawling, you're like, oh, this is so cool. But you're like, now I look back and like, well, he had it easy.
Oh my God,
keep up with him, and he's like climbing up things now, and
you can't just sit him in a thing and let him go while you do something.
No.
You now have to entertain
and
him.
he had a fall. We went away for my wife's wedding. I mean, sorry,
She got married. Yeah,
she got married. Her birthday, and he had a little fall because he just started walking and split his head open.
Oh,
so
man.
he ended up in Milton Hospital.
Yeah, wow.
And he got some glue.
Which was
and stuff.
terrifying, no doubt, as a father.
Yeah. So first baby, and then first real fall and blood. So it was quite alarming. We called the ambulance, and they got there it's not that bad.
Yeah. You don't know these things.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
And the blood, there's so much blood from the head
wound, yeah.
But they just glued it up. He was less phased. We cared more and worried more.
Yeah.
Which
I think every parent has this. I had a couple of those things. And the more kids you have, it sounds really bad, but the less worried you get.
Because you've seen it.
Well, yeah, and you know that they're not as delicate as you think they are.
Yeah.
You know, they're actually pretty resilient.
Yeah, more so than... Sure.
Where am I putting this? That way? Is that better? Is that okay? Yep, cool.
Yeah, kids, amazing.
Nice segue.
Crazy.
Yeah. They're crazy. In fact, my eldest, it's their birthday today, so he's now working at Canberra Theatre Centre and absolutely adoring backstage stuff. So he does lighting and mech work. But I thought, because he's grown up in rehearsal rooms entirely, I thought all of them would be not remotely interested in. And I mean, because especially as an artist, you struggle a fair bit.
Yeah, okay.
I thought they would be like, nope, but no, they're all kind of my other daughters studying video game development.
Oh, cool. In Canberra?
Yeah, over at AIE.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
Doing the bachelor's in game development.
They're doing awesome stuff at AIE.
Yeah. John DeMargariti. Have you met John?
I haven't, no.
No, you should
Might
make
get
sure.
him on.
Yeah, he's a really interesting guy. Ridiculously successful man, and AIE obviously, but also just the film production side of things that him and Dan Sanguinetti, which you probably know Dan, are kind of pulling together. Like they're making some good inroads. Canberra's tough. Industry as it is. I mean, we were talking about Snatches before, and we were very committed to like Canberra based entirely. Like we wanted, we ended up with 95% Canberra cast and crew, which is quite an achievement, but it actually made it really difficult. Really difficult.
What were the difficulties?
There's not enough. There's not enough cast. There's not enough crew. Like it's just really, because of the nature of the industry here, there's not sustainable work. That those of us, with kids and stuff have to do something else, and then that limits your availability, which, cuts you out of some jobs and stuff. And so we had to bring in some of the key kind of departments needed people from Sydney, which costs a bunch because you have to put them up and living away from home and all that kind of stuff. So it just becomes a much more expensive. And there wasn't really, at the moment, there's not really the kind of incentives government-wise to shoot here. So that's something that I know like Screen Canberra is working on, but especially when we were doing it, there was no kind of incentive or support to shoot here.
Okay, because that was one of my questions around like budget, right? You hear these like amazing budgets that they get in Hollywood, like 300 million and all that stuff. And then I think probably like fantasies of any kind of actor, writer, aspiring director is like, I want to make a film. And then to see kind of it come to light from you writing, directing, starring, and then winning some awards, being picked up internationally, like all of that is a huge journey. And it's hard to know like where to start or even like what direction to take it in. And then yourself having kind of done everything from behind the lens, in front of the lens, do you think there is a point where you kind of have to hand over the reins to someone else so that you can get the best out of like a performance or best out of directing or best out of lighting, whatever it is that you love doing?
I think there's a couple of questions in there, a couple of answers. Like the first one is just start. Like where do you start? And I think the biggest thing, the biggest thing about my career as an artist has always been, I've been driven to make my own work. And I think that's the only way you can succeed in the Australian industry. The Australian industry just isn't big enough, apart from the ones that manage to get some Hollywood success, really. So you have to generate your own work. And even at that point, like those kind of Hollywood success stories, they're generating their own work as well. And so my entire career, like I set up a theatre company as soon as I graduated uni, and that ran for a decade touring the country and learnt a lot, but made to kind of sustain just enough income for me to keep practicing my craft. And that's just the mentality that I've had ever since, is kind of if you want to do a show, go and do a show. And there's a sense that, and it sounds a bit esoteric, but the idea that when you kind of set the goal to do something, things just start to kind of, synchronicity happens and shit just starts falling together. Am I allowed to swear on this? Yeah. Shit just starts lining up for you if you just keep taking those steps. And as much as you don't need to know what the next step is, you just need to know that the step you're taking is the right sort of thing. And half the time they're not the right, and you'll have to do some things, but as long as you keep moving forward, shit just kind of comes together. And so, so the next kind of point to that is like, for example, with Snatches, that, like I say in interviews, that I discovered the first draft of a script, and it was September 2018 that I wrote the very first draft. And originally it was going to be like a stage play, like an adaptation of the Body Snatcher by Robert Louis Stevenson. And it wasn't like, that script was kind of like, this wasn't very good, but there was a seed of something that could work really quite well cinematically, like as in, and I was always wanted to, like for most actors, like you said, there's something about the feature film as a goal that you're like, fuck yeah, I want to do that. And I've always wanted to make and write and direct and all that kind of stuff anyway. So it was a point where probably around maybe a year or two after that first draft that I just went, oh, well, this will have to be the one because I can't kind of and ah about questions. I just have to lock in and go, well, I'm going to make snatches, and if that works, that works. And if it doesn't, I'll just cry. So it's a little bit of that kind of commitment thing, and then trust that things will kind of align as you need them. But as I said, like, it's tough, especially like our budget was around $1 million, which is not much for a feature. And a lot of that is because of generosity of people around camera and stuff that helped. A lot of it was because I did a lot of the work myself, which was not a good kind of practice, I think.
When you say a lot of the work yourself, what are you referring to?
Well, a lot of the producing, like all the kind of pre-production stuff, of even just pulling the team together and financing and everything was down to me. And then in production, obviously, my wife was co-directing, so she took a lot. And then like my first Ashish and Luke Patterson, the DP, and Johnny Waterhouse, like I trusted them implicitly, so I kind of allowed them to have the story. But then once we kind of wrapped, we severely had little money, so I ended up having to edit and run the whole kind of post-production process as well on my behalf. And that was the exhausting part. And it would, and I I wouldn't do that again. I would somehow, even if I just had to beg and borrow to get someone to do it for me, I would let someone else take that, because you need to be able to walk away from it, walk away and go and come back to it and look at it with fresh eyes. Yeah. Because by the end of it, you just hate it. You just despise every freaking moment of it. Yeah. Not that it's a good movie. It's a very good movie, but it's a fun movie. Yeah, but you do get to just so sick of seeing it over and over again. Yeah.
On that, because obviously you had to watch yourself because you're doing the post-production and everything. Yep. If you've been in other things, would you like watch yourself, or are you not into?
No, I don't really do it. I try not to, unless it's something that's a specific kind of blocking or something that they need to go, like, you've got to hit this point because we need this frame. Then I would watch, but I tend to not. Like, I just think it keeps your head in the game as opposed to thinking about what you look like on camera. Yeah, and as soon as you start thinking about what you look like on camera, everything goes to shit. So I try not to.
And then, like, I noticed is Pete and I, like, similar to earlier, where it's like you just start, you do something, and you learn along the way.
Yeah, damn straight, yeah.
And I know Pete and I started filming, and the first things we film, shit.
Yeah.
Like horrible mistakes. You're like, oh well, now we know, and you learn. And one big thing for us is like, I can't, kind of like separation of roles.
Yeah.
Because if I'm worried about the lighting of the cameras or what it is, then I'm lost in the art of doing what I need to do. And same for Pete, he's like, if I need to worry about you kind of acting or blocking or doing anything, then I'm lost in what I need to do as well. So
yeah, it's really tricky. And a lot of people, like when we were doing it, when we were pulling the team together, everyone was like, you can't freaking direct and star in it, like, you blah, blah, blah. And I think if you haven't got experience, I wouldn't. Like a young person that hasn't done much, I think you can't. No. But I'd done a whole bunch of stuff, and I was so used to kind of turning it on and off for whatever I needed to do that I was okay with it. There's moments in the film that I'm like, man, I'm clearly not, like, I know that I'm clearly not there because I'm thinking about something else.
Yeah, okay.
But you just have to go, like I didn't even watch takes and snatches. Like I didn't do that because it was a case of just trust the team. But yeah, like it's a really tough thing because you're trying to think, there's too many kind of crooks, and I think I would have done a better performance as an actor if I was just an actor. The direction was great anyway, so I wasn't too concerned by that. But as an actor, I think there's moments where I didn't quite nail it to my kind of standard. Okay. Because my brain was sort of everywhere else.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And then how do you, like when you're in an acting, how do you give yourself direction and maintain like that character over the course of shooting a feature film? I even noticed with like when we did a short for Trop Fest, and starting and stopping, resetting up the stage or the set, and then getting into it. Is there any like kind of techniques or anything you do to try to get yourself into that that space of the character?
Yeah, there's oh well, look, I think it's a little different if you write the work yourself. So I'd lived with the text so much for so many years that I didn't have to concern myself. I kind of knew everywhere where I was.
Yep.
But if it was a text that I hadn't written, then I would just do that work that you're meant to do as an actor, all that text-based work, the script analysis and everything, so you know where you're at, and have my script usually ends up with notes scribbled all over it so that I know exactly where I am, and then you trust that the director is going to help you be there when you need to be there. So it falls a bit if you get stuck on a project, in the wrong way. If you get on a project that the director's not that experienced at that, you kind of go, oh, should I have to lift my game a little bit because I don't have, I can't rely on that. But when it comes down to it, you just have to trust that you've done the work beforehand so that it's going to show up on the thing. Because I think that's the biggest thing, is that do all the work you can, but once, you're on set and it's action, you just have to throw all that out the window and just see what happens.
Yeah. And kind of be present in that space.
In that moment. And if it's kind of, if the writing's right and the team around it's right, then it should work. And the other thing with that is there's always, Jack Nicholson always goes, there's always another take.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you fuck it up, you just go, can I do it again? You know what I mean? Which is really nerve-wracking for a younger actor. Yeah. You're like, I can't say that. People aren't going to wait for me, but everyone will. It's just about, as long as it's not 20 takes you're asking for. But if you're asking for another one just because you know you didn't nail it, then everyone's happy to give an actor another take. Yeah,
I think that's good knowledge to have. Because you do want, as a performer, you want the best and you want to give it your best. Yeah. So if you don't feel like you have, then
There's also something about you can't trust something that So if I do a stage show, for example, if I don't feel like at the end of the show I've kind of been 100% in it, to the point where I've kind of forgotten what's happening and I'm just living moment to moment and the kind of ideal in the moment sort of acting, I feel like I've failed the performance. Okay. Which is wrong, because the director will walk around and go, that was the best show you've ever done. And it's because you can't actually tell, as an actor, what is being read. You can only assume that what you're doing, which is why that is so important, just to be there and trust the moment to moment, as opposed to kind of recreate a moment, because you can't actually judge your performance. You can just exist in that moment. As soon as you try to judge the performance, it's what I was saying before, you start thinking about, what do I look like on camera? Is this reading properly? Yeah. And you hear the kind of things like Tom Cruise and stuff talking about lenses and all that, and you need to know what the lens is and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's like, well, yes, and Tom's probably in a very different position that everyone would wait around for him to do everything. But I think if you're, it's just, you understand if it's a wide or if it's a close, but really it's about being there in that moment as strongly as you possibly can. Yeah. And do that, and then trust that the team around you is capturing it.
I think that's what kind of improv allowed me to lean into. Yeah. Because I remember I did a stage show. It was short and sweet. It was my first on stage. It was me and another guy, 10 minutes. And it was quite nerve-wracking, but I spent so much time learning the lines, revising the script, learning the lines, learning his side of the lines, so I knew what I could And then I was like, well, I wasn't there. Yeah. I knew the material, but there was probably no soul to it. Yeah. It was just kind of, well, now I say this and now I say that. Yeah. And then having done some improv and then another stage show, you kind of learn to understand the intent of what is being said, and then that kind of sets you up a bit easier to remember what needs to be said. Yeah, entirely. But you're actually in the moment feeling it, and you're not so rushed just to throw the lines back.
Yeah, and I think that's what, like I was saying when you do the work, that's the work of the actor, is to do all that, so you come to set or you come to rehearsals with all of those, all of that behind the scenes homework that you need to do. I'm Stanislavski trained, so all that kind of intentions and objectives and super objectives, all of that kind of stuff, you've done, so that on set, you're not expecting the director, or in the rehearsal, you're not expecting the director to tell you what to do. You're coming with stuff to actually do it. And then your job is to offer up options and then shift as guided.
And I think, not to labour on improv, but that shifting is also like a good improv backbone, where it's like, well, now try it this way. And you may not necessarily understand totally what the prompt is or the suggestion, but you just lean into it and run with it. And it's like, you know, you'll get more direction or you'll nail it.
Exactly.
But if you're worried to be like, they're like, do it with more conviction. If you're worried about what the conviction is and how to portray that without knowing that you already know everything, then it's kind of, that's where you get that mixed match of lines and emotion.
No, I definitely think improv is like one of the key aspects, like all actors should learn. Like, I'm a big believer in that. Like it's always a kind of tricky space where you want to honor the playwright or the screenwriter's words, but there's something about just going with the moment and the words come out differently. And that's fine. And I think, and a lot of people are quite happy with that. Like, as a writer myself, I don't mind if you, unless I've written something that I know the joke lands on that line at you, so you have to deliver that. If you're going to add the brand, like, I don't mind that. Most directors, especially in screen, don't really mind that. Stage gets a little bit trickier because the playwright's words are a little bit more, like, I guess, strict in their, there's a lot more work into the words themselves, if that makes sense, that you're a little bit more contained. It's like you don't really ad lib around Shakespeare, for example. I mean, there's people that do, but like, there's a reason all those words are there, whereas screen is a little bit more loosey-goosey in that the intent of the scene and the character is more than the specific word to word.
So just on that, you're directing a new show at the Street?
Yes, I am. It's called Playback. What is it? The Playback. It's got a long title, Playback. A show about a famous person, but not a show about, but not starring a famous person. And it's about kind of I wouldn't say washed up journalist, but an aging journalist who's secured an interview with Scott Morrison after he's left the prime ministership, and engages a very young videographer to video it, and things don't quite go according to plan.
Sounds fun.
So it's a really interesting one. It's a lot of multimedia elements in there, so we're playing around with some live camera feeds and video elements that kind of help the storytelling there. And it's a really interesting kind of discourse on contemporary politics, which I quite like. Like, I actually quite get fascinated by contemporary politics. And it's funny, and which is what I probably like the most. Like, I kind of think that everything, even heavy drama, you should be able to find a gag there somewhere.
And so switching from like Snatches back into theatre, are there any kind of differences in how you approach directing and like blocking and things like that?
So as an actor, I don't think either are different. Like, I think the way I approach a screen and the way I approach a stage is exactly the same. Like, I do all the same prep. It's just a different format that we kind of deliver it in. And the beauty of a good, stage production is you have 3 or 4 full-time weeks of rehearsals to find things. In screen, you don't necessarily have that much time. You might get a little bit of time before the take to go, I think we're going to stand here, and then they'll light, and then you have to do it. Do you know what I mean? That sort of stuff. So you have a lot more freedom to explore in the rehearsal space on a stage production, and that's probably one of my favorite spaces to do. Those first couple of weeks of rehearsals where you are just exploring, like, you're just finding random stuff about how you can tell the story until it starts to get locked in towards opening night, where you actually have to lock in some things. So the only thing, it's about approaching, I mean, there's that difference that you kind of look at, like in a screen project, you're looking for key images, so key frames that can help tell the story, kind of thing, that you kind of put together. On stage, you're looking for those same moments, but it's in a different, because essentially you're kind of looking at a wide shot, and you can kind of guide an audience to look at moments on the space, but you've got to think of the whole wide all the time sort of thing, and what's coming at you through all of that, and just the conventions that are in theatre that people come into. So there's a little bit more thinking, but you have the time to do that thinking there. And the beauty of like screen stuff is if you've pulled a good team together, you've got a really good team around you. So the DP should really help you. Like Luke was phenomenal at that kind of, this is how we should frame this shot to tell this moment and all that kind of stuff. So they're both very collaborative, but I feel like in the stage, you've got more room to play and find, whereas screen, you have to make some choices really quickly. And that's actually right back at the screenplay stage, if that makes sense. Yeah,
okay. Is there, so theatre, I like theatre, I quite enjoy it. And I find when you're on stage and compared to scene, like you get little audience feedback, which is like a beautiful thing, because you're like, oh, something happened, or, that was nice. And you can kind of ride that a little bit as well. Whereas like on screen, it's kind of, you do the take and it's like, oh, and you wait.
You wait for a thumbs up or During COVID, we actually did with the Street Theatre a streamed production of a play by Conor McPherson called St. Nicholas. Okay. And it's a one-man show so I played a theatre critic who falls in love with an actress, follows her to London, but ends up getting involved with a coven of vampires. Okay. And he becomes the one that goes out at night and brings back the young people for the vampires to feed. And it's it's a phenomenal play. Yeah. Like really interesting and great role for a character, but we were doing it, originally going to do it as a stage production. COVID hit, so the Street kind of went, oh, do you want to stream it? And so we did, and it was incredibly weird because it was all no fourth wall, direct address to the audience, but I'm talking to a camera all the time. So that was incredibly, I wouldn't say difficult, but really interesting space to play in, because you didn't get that feedback. You didn't get that moment. So if you didn't know if a joke landed, you just had to assume the joke landed. And the way I kind of approached it was I really just had to imagine audience response to moments, so that I could, that's how I hope you play it. And whether that was coming across or not is a different story, but it was a fascinating, and it's something that I really enjoyed, like kind of blending those two at the moment. Like that's with playback, like we're doing similar things, like how does the kind of cinema storytelling transfer to the stage, how does stage kind of adapt in that, because it's a very unique kind of space. And we're also educated in the way that we interpret a screen performance and a stage performance, and so like how can you kind of take both and meld them together, like where does that fit? And like STC was doing some really interesting stuff. I don't know if you saw like the picture of Dorian Gray and the Dracula one that they're doing on West End now. No, I haven't. Which was a blend of the Dracula one I didn't really like that much, because it was solo actress telling the Dracula story, and she plays everyone, which is a really fascinating thing to watch. But they were trying to do it as a kind of film, and had this giant screen on stage that kind of moved back and forward, and you never really knew where you were looking. You didn't know if you were meant to be watching her or if you were meant to be watching these like the screen images that were being created. And so it became a bit of a weird space, and especially like in the streaming world, like in that, and obviously the tech has improved now, so it's not as kind of clunky, but watching, like a lot of people watched St. Nicholas on a laptop because it was the easiest way to kind of access a live stream at the time. And that is a weird thing, but it's also like further to the current industry. Like you look at vertical dramas on the phones that are booming, and it's like, so people are now watching it in this kind of format in bite-sized pieces. Like the way we engage with storytelling is shifting dramatically, and I don't know where that's going to end up.
Yeah, it's an interesting time. And like the whole vertical series, like I get it.
But I don't like it.
But it doesn't change the fundamentals of storytelling.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But it seems like it's now, it's just like straight into it. You just get given hand-fed like 30 seconds of this person, and there's no like character development. There's no anything to understand where you are or what you're seeing. It's just like, all right, bam, and then you're on, and then you're on to the next thing.
Yeah, and very much in that kind of soap opera way of hooking people with kind of cliches and stereotypes, so you don't have to have in-depth character analysis to kind of craft that, but so that the quick grabs of story can be processed really like simply and efficiently in that kind of second screen idea of like, I don't even have to be really present with this story to engage with it and be entertained by it. Like there's nothing wrong with that. I just feel like, I like work that makes me actually want to engage with it. And I think you'd probably know this is as you start making more and more stuff, like it's trickier to get something that hooks you because you know the kind of machinations behind all the process. Yeah. And so when I luck onto a story, cinema or stage or whatever, that I'm just so absorbed in, it's like freaking awesome. Yeah. But they're getting few and far between.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of the stuff now is kind of over acted or like over dramatized, but not for the right reason.
Yeah. No, there's definitely an interesting, I mean, they talk, like I mentioned that second screen thing, that thing that they all rumor about that Netflix tells you have to write the script so that people not 100% engaged with it can still keep up. So you're constantly repeating story elements and telling people what you're feeling as opposed to just showing us on camera, so that if you're not really engaged with it, I can still keep up with it.
I watched that latest movie with what's his name? Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
Yeah, who were talking about that,
And it was like every 30 seconds they're talking about they're gonna do this and they're gonna do that, and then the scene would play out and then it's like, oh, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that.
Yeah, and I think that those interviews with Matt Damon where he sounds really like, this is bullshit. I don't want to do this.
Because it kind of ruins the flow of the movie when you have to go back and say, almost tell the audience what's happening, how they're going to do it, and the outcome. Yeah. The whole way through.
Well, yeah, and it's that thing where you're not giving your audience enough credit, and audiences want to actually engage with it. It's why murder mysteries are so popular. It's that idea that you want to solve the murder yourself. Yeah. And so everyone sits there trying to figure it out before the detective does at the end. But if you're kind of throwing it in their face straight up, there's no fun, there's no engagement. It just becomes that shitty word content in the background as opposed to art and story being shared around the world. Which is disappointing.
Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a good show. Yeah. Because you're engaged and you know all the characters. There's backstories, you're invested, and it's like, oh, could be that person, could be that person.
Yeah. And I think there's something about that space where those series are kind of filling the void because they're being allowed to play around with interesting ideas. Like you look at Severance as well, which is really obscure and it doesn't give you the answers, and it lets you, Pluribus is another one. Where that was cool. No answers. It's just constant questions all the time, and so they're both Apple TV ones, which is kind of interesting, but that drive, so the audience, obviously hugely popular because the audience is engaged with it. On the other hand, you've got these ones that are telling us exactly what's happening and how they're feeling all the time. So there's probably, there's room for every kind of version of every storytelling medium, I guess. But the ones that I kind of assume that you are engaged, which is one of the things I do love about theatre, and a live audience sits down in front of you as a performer, and hopefully their phones go off, but they're there with you. And there's also a certain respect that I think humans have, that when someone's talking to us, we tend to want to let them talk. And so if I'm watching you on stage, I want to, I'm giving you that energy. Do you know what I mean? I'm allowing you to tell that story. And there's something beautiful about that. And really enjoyable. And I think, I wonder if there's going to be a push back to that sort of live theatre space as we go along, when things come more and more a bit kind of generated online, where we don't quite know what's real. And so we chase the real by actually sitting in a room with someone.
Yeah, I think I feel that. Because now, when you're online and stuff, you're like, oh, I don't even know if that thing's real. Yeah. Or how much of that is real. Whereas when you're with someone, you know they're real.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And when you're watching someone on stage or someone perform, then it's like, oh yeah, like you're there. And that thing of, there's still a big kind of like respect in theatres, and there used to be more in like movie theatres where you're there, present, your phone's away, you're not distracted.
Yeah.
But I went to the movies ages ago now. It's like before my son was born.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember there's like this young group, and they were just on their phone the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm like, go do it at home. Like if you're going to come to the cinema, enjoy the cinema. That's like, I love the cinema. I've always dreamed of, when I was young, I was like, I applied to work at like all the cinemas and never got a job there.
Yeah.
And it's still my like gripe.
Oh man.
And if I was like a rich, wealthy person, I'd open a cinema.
Yeah.
Because I love cinema.
Yeah.
And I love going to the cinemas. And then, you know, I could make my own films and show myself at my own cinema, which would be cool.
Yeah.
Like the whole...
Yeah, no, I get really frustrated with that idea that people go and then don't really go to watch the movie.
No.
What are you doing? Like,
yeah.
But I guess it's just the, you know, different generations.
Yeah.
That people approach the world differently. And I mean, I don't go to the movies that much anymore anyway, but that's just because, not that I don't want to, I just, similar to you, kids and work and life and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I've got a really good setup at home, so I'm more than happy kind of sitting and watching without children next to me with phones and stuff like on me. Yeah. So
you've been doing this a long time, and like things have changed in the industry. Like tech's way cheaper. There's tools available to help like your process flows and editing and all that kind of stuff. Do you think, and I don't know, if you went back like 20 years, do you think you could have made Snatches then? Or do you think it was kind of because of the times?
Yeah, no, definitely because of the times. Like it wouldn't have looked as good. I mean, the kind of, the DSLR revolution, like with the 5D Mark II that came out that was allowed to shoot video of ridiculous quality. And then, you know, if you know all that kind of magic lantern stuff where they transformed it so you could do a whole bunch of cool stuff. Like that just democratized filmmaking. And so shifting from ridiculously expensive, clunky machinery to capture film to being able to capture it digitally kind of made everyone, like it's accessible now. Yeah. Like, you know, you can shoot with these things and craft a feature that's going to look amazing. Yeah. Like providing the team's good, anyone can kind of do it. And I think, yeah, like definitely that's helped a lot. It's also hindered a little bit because now anyone can do it and not everyone should do it, if that makes sense. Some people just don't really know what they're doing and aren't necessarily willing to learn. So I don't begrudge anyone experimenting, but if you're not actually learning and so you're still chomping out the same crap every time you make something, that's not actually improving. So there's that, which means there's a whole bunch, like the market is bigger for your project to stand out in. So that's added an element of complexity to it. And then obviously, so 20 years ago, not a chance. It would have cost too much money. Or not look as good. I mean, we shot on Alexa Minis, which were like we managed to get a good deal, so they were affordable, and the visuals were incredibly good, and then we had enough money to hire a good colorist as well. Yeah. So between Luke and John and the colorist, like it all looks pretty amazing. It looks much more than the budget that it was, and that was our plan. Like we always wanted it to be, like it was always about a calling card for the team to kind of go, see what we did with no money. Do you want to give us some more money and we'll make some more stuff? And so it's definitely achieved that goal. And 20 years ago, it wouldn't have been anywhere near. I'm trying to think when I was even, it would have been early digital, which would have been shite and expensive. And like even things like, so the whole film's edited on DaVinci Resolve. A lot of the effects are done on DaVinci Resolve. Yeah, okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, which, you know, you can get the free version and it's ridiculously capable as well. So there's just, tools out there. So I think it now comes back to like the storytelling skill. And I'm not saying we nailed Snatches by any means, but like I'd been around telling stories for a long time, so I kind of knew what worked, and kind of like I know there's things that don't quite work, but like the skill behind it, like the the way to tell a story hasn't changed, and you have to be better at it because the tech is no longer the barrier, if that makes sense. So you have to be, really good. And I learned quite a lot about from Snatches and how it was sort of received, and how the next, it's informing the next kind of projects about the best way to kind of get through, to tell a story cinematically, and also, but I'm also further to that, I'm thinking about audiences and how you actually engage with them, because I think that's shifting dramatically. The original, 20 years ago, it still would have been, you could have made a pretty dodgy movie, got it into some festivals, and probably got a studio deal out of it.
Yeah, okay.
Because there just wasn't. So you look at something like Clerks, Kevin Smith, it's a fun, interesting little 90s flick that's kind of, but it's not very well made, and it's not, it looks kind of shit. You even go back to Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, Guy Ritchie's first thing. If you go back and watch it, clearly he's talented, and same with Kevin Smith, they're both talented and are really good at telling a story, but the production isn't up to their vision yet. And you can see, you kind of go through Lock, Stock. So when we started shooting, before we started shooting Snatches, I gave the entire crew a big list of films they had to watch, and Lock, Stock was one of them, because that was a very key reference to what I was writing. And the production designer kind of came back and went, "It looks kind of shit now, doesn't it? I remembered it being really good." And I'm like, "It is really good, but it does look kind of shit. It kind of is cheap." And so I think there's still, but what am I saying? They kind of, the tech is no longer the barrier. It's now whether you can actually tell a good story. And the audience side of things is just telling a good story doesn't guarantee you're going to get an audience, and doesn't guarantee you're going to get, a big deal, or even get it distributed, even get it, there's too many movies that sit on people's hard drives, or, you just do there's a variety of ways you can distribute a film now, where you can just put it on for, AVOD or TVOD, advertising video on demand, or transactional video on demand, where you can kind of control it and get it out there, but it just swims under the radar and no one knows it. And so the kind of goal, and I mean, that was with Snatches, which kind of with hindsight is a little bit different now, but was to get distribution, get it international, and then doors will open magically, and that never happened. But I mean, the distribution happened, and the international distribution happened, and all that kind of stuff. But you're just another film in the mix of all of that kind of stuff, without the $100 million marketing budgets that other films have. And so there's a disconnect between the way it used to work, in the sense that you'd get a couple of festivals, and that's exactly what we did. We got a couple of good festivals, and then distribution started knocking on our doors. So that was really helpful. That model is it's just not really there, especially because festivals, if you notice, are shifting to names again, and so that indie product is still indie product with Matt Damon in the lead, all of that. And that's probably my biggest frustration with the industry, is that demand for a name as a marketable kind of project, if that makes sense.
I get that, because I felt, not to name any festivals, but I felt similarly where you look at it from their sense as a business model, they need that marketing, and they need that attention, so they need those names. And then it's well, that's great, but then, and they need sponsorship and everything like that. So it's how do you get from down here with no money, no time, a good story, and some good tech to get above, or at least to be able to play up with the big dogs at the top.
And that's why everyone was, I mean, when we were casting, we went out to some names. We just didn't have enough money, and so no one even looked twice at us, because we just couldn't afford to offer them what they are worth because of their return. And that kind of, so we went, we'll just get some really good actors, and we did. Justin and Hannah were the two that were, are amazing. But that hurt us, because no one was interested, because the first question anyone in the distribution world asks is, who's in it? Have they done anything else? How would we know them? And they don't care about anything else. It's just who's in it.
Wasn't it? Was it Ethan Hunt's daughter that was in an interview? and said that they get asked like how many followers and stuff they have on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's like,
which is ridiculous as well. But like it's business sense. Like it makes business sense. But like I get frustrated because I don't know. I have this ideal that there was a period, and there probably was when like Scorsese and everyone were coming up, that cinema was about the art.
Yeah.
And making really important and telling really important stories and really interesting and like provocative and engaging, and then it just became more and more about how much money you can make off a film, which limits the kind of creativity in it, because you have to make, I guess, advertising decisions as opposed to creative decisions, and that frustrates me.
It is frustrating because there's lots of people that are good actors and good storytellers and good directors and good lighting, and it's like, well, I think that barrier to getting work, so you make your own work and you continue to make your own work, but I think that barrier to getting like work is harder now, or higher to get into.
Definitely, like, it's kind of like, you kind of joke in Australia there's the kind of clique of maybe 10 or 20 actors that get all the work.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you get into that clique. Yeah. Like there's actors like me, and I know plenty of my friends that are just regular jobbing actors. Like we just kind of make just enough so that we don't have to have a public servant job. Yeah. We jump from, dailies and guest roles, commercials to theatre and that kind of stuff to make a living. But we're not known well enough to be even offered, get like supporting roles or anything like that. Okay. And then I don't know, like, and I think the next kind of generation is coming through with, like, I guess, influencer and social media kind of support to sidestep that thing. And I mean, there's always the kind of outliers of luck that just get in, like Liv Hewson, who's that Canberra actor. She was they were CYT, and like I'd worked with them a bunch of times, so I'd known them forever. Yeah. And they just kind of lucked out into a random casting workshop that CYT held, and all of a sudden they're in the States starring with Drew Barrymore. And you're like, what the fuck?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, like it's awesome. I mean, Liv is sublimely talented. Yeah. Like you could tell when they first showed up to CYT that you're like, oh my God, this person's special. Yeah. And so it was bound to happen. But it's those kind of really lucky little steps that you kind of go, how do you orchestrate those?
Yeah. And then like even educate people how to get into it or help.
Yeah.
When just on that, like talent, and some people obviously are just born with it. And some people, train and are still just as great. But when you're casting, what are you looking for?
Surprise. Mm-hmm. I don't want to. So if I'm casting for anything, I want to be surprised. In fact, in any kind of storytelling or performance, I want to be surprised. Like, I want you to do what I didn't expect you to do.
Yeah, sure.
And so, like if I'm casting for something, so like for Jane Doe in Snatches, we sent out sides for them to read for. So we had a bunch of self-tapes come through for that. And we gave this, the scene that I wanted to see more than anything was the one where Jane wakes up and kind of freaks out with the two guys about whether I could believe that they were actually scared, because that was going to be the key to hinge on the whole story. Because if you kind of believe that Jane is in that situation at the start, it kind of lets the payoff come at the end a bit stronger. And very few nailed it. Like, because it's a tough scene, and I made sure it was a tough scene. Yeah. And it was only that, like Hannah there's a couple that just got it because it was like everyone talks about making interesting choices as an actor. You make interesting choices. It's like, but it sounds, I don't know how to say it. Like, it sounds like it's an easy thing to do. You make an interesting choice. It's like, no, it's not. It's just a reaction to the moment that is unpredictable, is what you're chasing. And the only way you can do that is is do a lot of improv, do a lot of things that make sure that you are in the moment and trust that impulse to do something, as opposed to block it down and go with this is probably the way they wanted it. You know what I mean? And so I want that really interesting moment, whether it works for the scene. And that's one thing I think about tapes and auditions is that it's not about the final project. It's about throwing something at them and go, here's my approach.
Yeah.
And so that's why I don't care about lines and I don't care about anything like that. Like I just kind of, like if I get a self-tape, I just kind of glance at the lines and get a rough idea of what I have to say and then try to keep up. And then hope things happen that is kind of interesting enough for me to go, oh yeah, that'll do.
Yeah.
But it's that thing, it's that kind of unexpected, especially if you're casting, like you see a lot. And so you kind of go like, oh, they did the same thing, they did the same thing, they did the same thing, they did the same thing. And you can see like, if you're a casting director working non-stop in this game, you'd be like, oh, fucking everyone just does the same thing over and over again. Like, regardless of the project, you're doing exactly what you did last time. And it's like,
yeah, sure.
You know, you have to be a Sydney hire and stuff.
Yeah.
MEAA is kind of pushing against that, but it's a weird, because there's tax incentives around it all. But as a ACT resident, you'd think you'd kind of fit into New South Wales and all that, but it doesn't. That kind of demarcation there is ridiculous. But then you read like, Queensland actors get the same thing. Like, they're bringing Sydney actors up to Queensland projects, and Queenslanders going like, what the freaking hell, man? I'm sitting right here. And they're like, So it's just, like, it's a tricky space. And I used to, like, my agent used to say, just don't mention where you're from. And you probably do the same thing. Like, just don't mention it unless they really ask you.
I just put my friend's Sydney address down if they ask.
Yeah. I just say, I'm like based in Canberra, but Sydney local hire as well, because we've got a place to stay there. And so, like, you know, I don't really care. But I don't, like I said, I'm just a jobbing actor, so it's not like they're hunting me down for lead roles in NCIS.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet, I mean, that'd be lovely, but so. Yeah, but Australia's a really tough industry. It's not big, it's not big enough. And there is a lot of those little hiccups that come in.
It's been amazing talking to you. We're getting the wrap up. But thanks so much. And it was a pleasure to see you on set as well. I just remember being on there, and the vibe and the whole ecosystem that I walked into was really cool, really amazing, and it gave like all of us as extras even the opportunity to mingle and get to know each other, and then like spin up side projects as well.
Yeah,
which is
nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
But tell us, can we watch Snatches? Where do we watch it?
Yeah, so Snatches, you can watch Apple TV, Prime Video, YouTube Movies. You can rent it or buy it if you want to own it. You know, like, of course, or as much as digital ownership is these days. It's not on there anymore. It's about to be released worldwide through a US distributor, so North America and worldwide, but that'll be a couple of months away. So if your international audiences can hang on a little bit longer. But that's kind of where it is at the moment. We're still looking for a streamer, probably in Australia, but we'll let the rentals and everything keep going for a little bit longer.
Cool. And then playback, when does it open? And how
playback opens on the 23rd of May, I believe.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so at the Street Theatre.
Go to the website for tickets.
Yeah, thestreet.org.au, I believe it is.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.